Welcome to episode 2, Views from a Business Leader. In this episode, we talk to Paul Britton, who is the CEO of the Thames Valley Chamber of Commerce.
Okay, if you could start by maybe just telling the viewers who you are, what your position is at the Thames Valley Chamber, and what you've been doing over. I guess life's very different now compared to 3 weeks ago, and it would be great to hear sort of what you've been doing as an organisation and what you've been doing working with your members.
So Paul Britton, I'm Chief Executive of Thames Valley Chamber of Commerce. So we've got a team of 43 employees, and we cover Berkshire, Buckinghamshire, Oxfordshire and Swindon, all the activity for the local chambers, of which we're very pleased to have your support locally in West Berkshire. And part of our focus is also around international trade. So real challenges at the moment in keeping international trade moving, as you would imagine. So half of our team are focused around that. And yes, you mentioned the last few weeks. We've, of course, as you'd expect as a business support organisation, we've never been busier. So the team are now all working remotely. I've got to start by saying how well that our team and speaking to a lot of members as well, just how well businesses have been able to respond to that challenge, and the chamber's no different. So really proud that we're certainly not business as usual, but we're able to provide that support that we know our members need so much right now. So all the team have been spending the last week hitting the phones and talking to all of our members. I think there's about 1,300 calls that have gone in over the last 7 working days. So all of that's about making sure that businesses have got what they need in obviously what's a really challenging time at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And what is the sort of key consensus that the members do need at the moment? What's their sort of number one overarching pain?
Well, I'll describe it as it's as though the business community is a bit likely as we're just recovering from the car crash, so we're some of our members, the airbag's still there, and they're still looking at how they can recalibrate and get the stars from out in the front of their eyes, and but other members are now the smoke's starting to clear, and they're clearing their heads, and they're looking around at what else is happening in the community, and the majority of members are now in that second stage. They're recovering from the initial shock, and now they're putting procedures and processes in place to make sure that they're resilient for the foreseeable, which for many is the next 3 months. So cash clearly is the key issue for many of the smaller members. You would have seen we were talking earlier, and we've got our results out now for the coronavirus impact tracker. This was on Sky last night, I'm pleased to say, so it's a real win for the Chamber. It's a Chamber of Commerce survey, and we had a really quite an incredible response locally in Thames Valley to that, and it gave us some good data around what's happening. So we know that the majority of members are looking at sorry, let me just rephrase that. It's not the majority. Around a third of our members are looking at furloughing in the next week, and that's a reflection as to the conversations that our account managers have been having, but also things in terms of the data around the webinars that we've been running. We've run a dozen webinars over the last 10 days, and clearly it's those webinars that are giving advice today for people to react to today, and that's information on the government support schemes that are out there, which have been well intended and on the whole well received. It's just that we've got to test that because there are gaps, and that's what we're spending a lot of our time doing at the moment is working with our members to test where those gaps are, because there are still a lot of businesses that are in a lot of pain that can't see where they're going to get the answers from at the moment.
Yeah, it was on the news last night about sort of around about 130,000 businesses throughout the UK have obviously tried to apply for this business interruption loan, and around only less than 1,000 have actually been approved. Now, obviously, that is huge, and it's huge news because it's going to really strike a blow to business over the coming weeks, months, and even possibly years ahead. So, I guess from a business perspective, if you can't get the loan, what do you do?
Well, you're right. I mean, the pinch point is going to be, for many, is going to be payday. It's going to be the end of this month, so April 25th. I mean, that's where we're focusing government attention on, also the local authorities, is that the guidance is there from central government, because we're talking about two separate or two or three separate schemes that are out there at the moment. There's the British Bank scheme, which is, or CBILS as it's been called now, which is where we saw a change last night. This morning being Friday, we've seen another encouraging, welcome development that the Chancellor announced last night around extending that scheme. So that's going to help some of the mid-sized corporates, and it's also going to help some of those companies that were quite legitimately saying, wait a minute, I've still got to put a personal guarantee down here. So the personal guarantees are now banned. So that's a good move. But yeah, it's all around pace. It's about the speed and urgency that's applied both by the British Bank and the approved lenders. We've been vocal, but also working, trying to get the tone of the conversation right with the banks as well, because we know they're under pressure. But we have to be absolutely clear that if there's any, a day's delay, hours delay at the moment is making a massive difference. And then, of course, in the last 48 hours, we've had the government money now being put in the hands of the local authorities to be able to share with local small businesses. And again, there's a lack of consistency across the UK. We've been speaking to the local. I've written to each of the local authorities and spoken to many of them, and we've checked. All of them have got plans in place, and all of them you can see across the Thames Valley. There's the essential information on their websites, and that's encouraging. It's just that there are inconsistencies. There's a level of discretion that's applied to how these small loans up to £25,000 are administered, which sectors and so on, and that's proving stressful for some of the members. So I'll repeat myself, it is just all around getting the pace of getting that cash into the hands of businesses before the end of the month.
Now, I've been speaking to lots of businesses, likewise I'm sure you have, and in terms of the flexibility that businesses are going to have to show probably over the coming, again, weeks, months, years ahead, in terms of adapting how they offer their services, their products, the market, is going to be massive. I think, it's going to be a very new world as we come out of lockdown. And how do you think businesses are going to learn in terms of from experiences that they have experienced during this time? And are they, do you think, in planning mode now to basically launch their new offering post-COVID?
Yeah, it is hard to look at the positives while, as I say, that the airbag's still, the airbag's still ringing in your ears. But you could start to see the learning that's coming out of this. I mean, we as an organisation, everybody's working from home, so you can see, and a lot of our members are clearly in a case where they can work from home, and you have to make it work. You learn from that.
Yes.
You learn from that. We've moved all of our events onto an online platform. The take-up of that has been fantastic. So we've had to change and shape and adapt, and as every member has had to do the same. But there are some areas in the business community where, as creative as you want to be, the barriers are just too difficult to get over at the moment. We've got manufacturers that import materials from all over the world that have still got the demand there. Perhaps they're providing essential services, either medical devices or products for the NHS. But because of the supply chain issues that we're starting to see, they're missing components.
Yes.
And it's that supply element really that while you can try to find local suppliers and look to ring some changes, there are fundamental challenges that businesses are facing at the moment. So it's not just a demand issue. It's and those supply chain issues are only going to become more evident as businesses furlough more people, or they find themselves in real difficulties. So, but we have, in terms of the learning, one of the things I'm most proud of, and there's two businesses in your patch in West Berkshire that we're working with, who are changing their manufacturing from and product lines to hand sanitizer or to visors for the NHS. And one thing we have learnt is it sounds a bit of a cliche, but you can see that the business community, that they are working together. We're talking daily to the incident response unit of the NHS in the Thames Valley, and we're able to make referrals and point organisations to these logistics hubs every day.
Yes, which is fantastic.
Yeah,
absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
One of the you picked up on sort of challenges, and one of obviously the big challenges for most sort of business leaders out there is staff. Now, everybody's having to work from home, and they've had to get their shop set up, and everybody's now sort of video conferencing as we are. In terms of well-being and sort of keeping staff motivated, and because there is no end goal at the moment, there's no end point at the moment. So many of the business leaders out there are trying to reassure their staff and trying to keep them motivated and productivity levels at a premium. So is there sort of any advice or any guidance that you can sort of give to other business sort of owners, leaders, directors when they're faced with the same situation?
Yeah. I mean, we're a business that runs for other businesses. So we're in a position where our account managers and our international trade executives and staff, they can sense the pain that some of the organisations that are in there. So in some ways, and when I'm on calls, that does help me, because you are actually involved in providing solutions.
Yes.
I think that stress arises where you don't feel in control. So we're very much as a chamber in a position where we feel we can control, we can contribute. We are lobbying government, we are working with the local authorities, and we are seeing that we're making a difference. And if we can help a handful of our members across the Thames Valley to get through this and survive this where they wouldn't have done, then I'm sure colleagues will get a great deal of satisfaction from that. So it does help us to reflect upon why we're here and why we do what we do. I think what you find is when you're exceptionally busy, which certainly our team are, it keeps you focused. And my job, I feel, is very much to keep the communication levels up, both with our members and obviously with our staff. And as you're doing and we're doing later on today, Friday afternoon, we'll have an hour at the end of the day where we do something together to get people together to talk about whatever they want to talk about, whether that's work or have a bit of music, and just share some of the challenges or things that they found more positive through the week. And that we know from experts, and I'm not an expert in wellness, but you can see just through your own experiences what's needed.
Yeah, absolutely.
And our teams are responding really well to that.
That's great, Paul. So looking ahead now for the chamber, what are the sort of key priorities for you and your sort of key deliverables for your members?
Well, there's probably two call to actions to our members right now, and this is the basis of the calls that are going in from the account managers and the communications that's going out. We've had the recent announcement from the Chancellor in the last 24 hours around the CBILS scheme. I mentioned earlier around the local authorities being in a position now to look to get this cash out of the door to local businesses. The main call to action really is where we need to identify where the gaps are.
Yeah.
And so in conversations in the last 24 hours with LEPs across the region, some of those LEPs are in a position where they do have an element of public money outside of what central government has provided, and they're looking for guidance as to which sectors, which size of businesses have been particularly impacted. So reach out to us, and that's not just that's a call to action that we're having across the whole of the UK chamber network as well, because this isn't a challenge that's limited to the Thames Valley clearly. So my ask is, there's two asks. One is contribute to that weekly coronavirus impact tracker. It goes out on a Wednesday, and we had a response by Friday. You have seen my colleague Adam Marshall on Sky News last night showcasing that, and that has influenced the decisions of the Chancellor. We're very proud of that. And if you want to approach your account manager directly or me directly around your own sector, and I can get that information to LEPs or other public bodies that are out there and there to help.
Fantastic. Well, Paul, thank you very much for your time this morning. I know you're really busy, so it really is appreciated. Thanks for the work the Thames Valley Chamber have been doing. I know the communications have never been higher coming out of your camp at the moment. So appreciate that, and appreciate all the work that you're doing.
Thanks for your support, Joe.
No problem. Thanks a lot.